Hello! So we are here for another product review, I guess? I don't know. For Unreal Engine Marketplace. It is the October sale 2023, and we're looking at the School of Magic by CGStuff. It is being sold on sale for a whopping $100. Which, with tax and everything related to that, would amount to be one of the most expensive environments I've ever looked at. So what we're expecting out of it is something godly, right? We're expecting perfection all across the board. Really expecting to see something that really exudes an attention to detail. So we pop into here, and the first thing we kind of notice is that they've left temporal anti-aliasing on, and that's really disgusting. So I had to look up here what the various settings were to get rid of it, which is going to be that. So we turn that off, and we immediately notice there's some really major flickering, which is, well, kind of to be expected. I'm not actually sure what this water flickering is, to be honest with you. It's, I don't get that in my project. It's definitely some kind of screen space thing that's going on. It looks pretty awful, but hey, at least the rest of the scene looks a lot better. So we'll just turn around here and take a quick look down here. So this is supposed to be like a Hogwarts kind of area. And I did do a quick little jog through. Very briefly, I got stuck. And Alt F4 and decided I would record it. And we can have a little chat. Maybe I'll release these videos. They'll be maybe kind of interesting to some individuals to see how I do stuff. See some great screen space there. Really great. Looking good. Looking good. So there's definitely still a lot of really gross stuff on, like SSAO. They seem to have vignette on. And there may be chromatic aberration as well. And barrel distortion or whatever other garbage that it defaults on in this shitty engine. And the gamut settings and all the other crap you immediately rush to turn off whenever you get a fresh boot going. But I'm not gonna run through the console right now. We can probably get a good judge of the assets. I am getting eye strain though, so it's chromatic aberration probably. So I fell. I did not mean to come down here. So it's just a pretty generic water. You can see it tiling. Nothing too outstanding there. I can stand on it. And they did have a little music jingle playing. It doesn't loop, so that's kind of interesting. Don't think that this is Unreal 5. Definitely don't think it's nanite. And the reason for that is because foliage flickers like crazy with nanite. And that's not the flickering we were seeing against the water. That's something unrelated. So at least we can get out of here. The other place I fell down, I cannot get up. You can see the trees are floating in the air here. It is just a demo scene. But you would expect for, you know, something going at on sale $100 fucking that they would put a little bit of effort into the demo scene, but lots of stuff floating around, that's for sure. Definitely lots of holes in this shit, but I mean, us as the developer, we could fix that. It's just, it's not a good look. Definitely not a good look. So we can look at some of the assets here, and we can see that there's a wire effect on those rocks from detail normals or something like that. That's kind of curious. That would suggest high detail, and when we look at some of the bricks here, they're kind of okay. There's a lot of clipping going on. Trees clipping through the thing here, which definitely does not look good at all. Definitely not looking good. It's not really paying attention. And our lighting looks horrible. Really? Like, this is probably... I think this is Unreal 4. So, there's just going to be, like, shitty GPU occlusion culling, no nanite. But it should perform a lot better than Unreal 5, because nanite can't cull stuff like particles or lights or whatever. And there's definitely a lot of performance issues with Lumen as well. So, we should be expecting to see, like, 100-something FPS out of this, kind of like what I was getting out of Apex when we were using... MSAA and forward rendering. That's kind of like the baseline because my hardware is stronger now. Ooh, look, more clipping. Looking good. Definitely looking good. Gives us a chance to look at these trees here, and they're not too bad texture-wise. It's just a very, very basic wind node that they have in the material. It looks just like the Paragon one that everybody puts on their character hair and says, look, wind animation. And it's literally just, they just copy pasted it out of one of the Paragon assets. Ooh, oof, oof. Oh, right out of the gate. Right out of the gate, we have major textile density issues, all on the same object too. That pillar. Wow. $100, by the way. Oof, 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 oof. Got some clipping. So baked lighting at a very low resolution is my guess. And the cascades are also not very sharp either. And additional clipping we got going on here. What we can see thanks to the clipping is the branch or whatever it is here has an open, straight open-sided. Are those open? It's kind of hard to tell. No, maybe they're not. They look like it though, because they're just abruptly ending. It doesn't look very good. I imagine all the branches look like that. You obviously can't see it as easily when they are in the distance, but they very helpfully rammed one right through the thing here to show us the splendor, absolute splendor. And you can see the little branch nodes are all just kind of floating in the air here. They're not actually attached to it. Those are not clipping through the wall. They're just floating in the air. So that could be due to the vertex displacement coming out of the wind noise that has a permanent displacement on it, pushing them away from the branch. I believe that vertex painting is vertex colors or whatever are used for that, for flow maps. Not a subject I am very familiar with. So yeah, the textile density issues are going to increase, I guess. The sides and the walls and the floor are kind of okay, but not here. You can see that the stairs are like half the resolution or so of the ground over here. So this doesn't look too bad, sans the really harsh over darkening on the normals. But these are really blurry compared to that. These kind of look like Half-Life 1 textures. These kind of look a little bit like maybe Half-Life 2 textures. So big disparity between those as well. Not very good. I'm not really too impressed with the way the rocks look, but it's the normal, the detail normal that really pulls away from them. You can see again the over darkening that's going on. It's not a good look for sure. More clipping all over the place over here gets us a look at these tree branches that appear to be just stuff floating in the air. And yeah, it doesn't look very good at all. Absolutely not. There is a pole here. And its textile density seems to be kind of similar to the walls, I guess. Maybe a little less. The lamp is not casting any light. It's just an unbelievably high emissive value, which is what some people do, and they really struggle with performance, which you shouldn't be struggling with performance at all, really. You can see some back faces or whatever under the rings. You see where the lamp is. See right in the dead center of the screen, you see the circular thing underneath the lamp. If you look on the right side of it, you can see a gap between the pole and that. So there's back faces there. It's not flush. And I don't know, maybe it's intended to be like that, but you can see on the left side too. So I think it's just floating in the air. I don't know. It looks weird. That should not be a back face in any event. We shouldn't be seeing through that. There's auto exposure and other absolute grossness at work here on top of it, so it's not looking too good. The rocks are clipping to the ground here. There is UV issues on this brick that we can see right in the dead center of the screen again. Pretty gross, pretty fucked up. That's the first time it stood out to me, but it really wouldn't surprise me if there was more that were like that. I kind of like the deformation they got going in the stairs. It's not repeating too much, right? Like we don't have the typical stair repetition, but we do see fucked UVs again, dead center of the screen. That would have been caught immediately by the artist if they actually looked at what they were doing. That's definitely a really bad one. It almost seems like they might be using parallax on there, but maybe It's harder to tell, which is good, but there is parallax there. You can see it in the edges, right dead center of the screen. Parallax looks terrible. Stop using it. Especially today. You should be modeling in all of your details and using Nanite. There's no reason to be using gross shit like parallax. It has never looked good in the history of 3D. It is disgusting. You can only apply it in very limited places. And this is on a staircase where you're going to come up and you're going to look at the ground there and you can see it's all distorted. And on smoother movement, it's going to be bad. But again, dead center of the screen, you see the really distorted, gross-looking lines there. Temporal might hide that a little bit, but no sensible person's ever going to have temporal on. Lots of clipping over here, too. Just pushing right through. No fucks given. And over here as well. Nobody gave a shit when they were building this demo level, evidently. It's looking terrible. Fucked UVs there, too. It's all over. It's just the one mesh that has really fucked UVs on it. And nobody thought twice to just go fix it, I guess. The pole, again, the back face is clearly visible on that ringed object. Not looking too hot. And they baked lighting, but there's no like baked ambient occlusion over here, so I'm not sure what that's all about. There's something off about the textures on here. It's like the brightness or something like that feels off for some reason. It could just be due to light baking and the fact I haven't seen it for a while. Clipping over here as well. Rocks are just clipping right on through, no fucks given. Not much attention placed into the demo asset of a $100 product that is normally $200 something when it's not on sale. So this is an enterprise level product, and it looks precisely like you would expect an enterprise level product to look like. A schizophrenic mess. I mean, most games out there look like this. They have problems everywhere. I can't even think of a game I've played in the last 10 years that didn't have really obvious problems like this right in your face. So, I mean, they've got that down pat, but maybe do a little better. When we look here at the bottom, the base of this pole, we see some bright spots there. I'm not really sure what those are supposed to be, but they shouldn't be bright. They just look like UV fucked. Yeah, there's a seam going right through the bottom of it. Oof, oof, oof. The little detailing there in the mid looks better. That looks about the textile density you would expect the bottom to look like, but they ballooned it out. And I'm not so sure if the texture was scaled accordingly, the UV islands, because it looks pretty low res on the bottom. Generally a mess is how I would describe it. The benches look all right, I guess. A little stretchy and blurry on the sides. But kind of sort of standard fare for Unreal 3, I guess. Not terrible, just not really stand out. Lots of clipping over here. And we've got bleeding going on here. You see underneath the rim of this fence here, you see all the bright hot spots? That's bleeding of some kind. You can see it over here too, but not as much. That could be due to light baking density, the texture size, or there could be back faces or some other goofery. Like I can't crouch in this, but they may not be flush. Can I? I can't change the render settings on this. So we're starting to see some absolutely monstrous performance drops here. Again, I'm pretty sure this is Unreal 4. At least I'm pretty sure this is not Lumen. And we saw lots of GPU occlusion fuckery. I know I did in my first... We'll see it again when we go into that courtyard, but we can see stuff just popping in and out all over the goddamn place there. That's awful. Yeah. That's GPU occlusion culling. So when we're up against the wall like this, we shouldn't be seeing that. Unless something is very, very seriously misconfigured, we shouldn't be seeing performance drops that look like that. And it's happening kind of regardless of where my camera is. It's a little bad, a little worse over there. But over here, the performance feels absolutely horrendous. I'm not sure how they managed that. Hats off to them. It's quite an accomplishment. Because of the auto exposure and stuff like that, these torches look absolutely messed up. But their brightness values are also really gross. I think there's some kind of motion blur or something on it. It's just like the screen's a slurry when you move it around. It's pretty bad. And the fire effects, I don't think I've ever seen an asset on the marketplace that had good fire effects. Certainly not environments. Most of the particle effects on the marketplace are outright scams. They look terrible. And, well, this isn't the worst of them. I'll give you that much. But the giant fractal particles don't look any good. That's, yeah, no. Definitely not a good look. And, we can get our camera right into there. Looks like the collision's not properly set up for this, thing here. Of course, you gotta be paying attention and have custom collision. All your objects should have custom collision to the shape of the object, and well, they're not doing that. At least not as far as our player character is concerned here. And yeah, the wall looks a little slimy when you're up close against it. So the normals and everything look like a hot mess to me. Definitely looking kind of slimy, kind of gross. Might be, you can probably easily fix that with the material, to be honest, though. The sliminess part, maybe not the weird bumps in it.
Penis.
So we've walked into here, and the textile density has increased a little bit on the ground here, but we're seeing slimy spots, so the roughness values are not correct on this floor. I think it's using it might even be using the diffuse for that, and it is probably using parallax as well, which is why it seems to warp as we walk away. So that's not very good. And lots and lots of stuff flipping in and out because of GPU occlusion culling being a meme. And these lamps look kind of low res. They're not in our face, so we can't really wager very well. But I mean, at a distance, they look low res. There's some seams or something in the bottom of them there. It's kind of weird. Or maybe that's screen space behavior. We can see the motion blurs making the emissive freak out. The circular things that the chains are connected to have a hard seam cutting through them that may be due to light maps or something else. Whatever it is, it looks terrible. And yeah, they just don't look very good. The windows don't have any actual window material here. There is later in the area. We can see some absolutely disgusting screen space crap here. Why people would ever think to turn that on in their product, I don't know, but it looks horrible. It's just disgusting. I feel like the lighting in here is completely off, but they've avoided having too many invisible lights in the level so far. I mean, we've just started, but something here feels a little off. It's just probably because I'm too used to Lumen at this point. And our frame rate is just dying. I don't know how you make my system die when you have literally nothing going on in the level, but hats off to you, I guess. So the ceiling looks all right, I would say. Again, the light maps must be extremely low resolution because I was getting a lot better light baking out of this, out of auto-generated light maps. And these, we've got like those, like, lining bits that are extruded that are not producing any shadows at all. Like it looks really fucked up. It's really fucked up. I mean, it's hard to say that these were even shadow casting lights at all. That they just baked the lighting without shadows. I would believe that at this point, honestly. There's a little light spot there. That's a bug. Incorrectly configure light map in all likelihood is my guess. We haven't seen any really obvious Z fighting yet, so that's hats off. This camera bob they've got going on is just utterly nauseating. And that is a extruded or beveled triangle. That looks like it has weird shading going on. These light map issues kind of remind me of the assets I ported from Bless or Terra when they had a lot of overlapping textures, and I tried to auto-generate light maps. I can English sometimes. Look at this. This shouldn't even be possible, much less be something we're actually witnessing. Lots of grass peeking through the pillars here, just clipping through. They weren't paying attention at all when they slapped this together. Nobody was paying attention. Light mapping issues here. We can see dark spots between all the little nooks in the bricks here. Textile density disparity between the floor and the staircase. It'd be very, very, very hard to use the staircase without changing the textures for everything, because the textile density differences between them is so enormous. It's even more obvious here. There's no sound or anything like that. This is running at a frame rate that is absolutely insanely low. I cannot imagine how or why. My guess is every single object here, we can't tell because this stupid camera bob has vertex animation and they're invalidating the light cache really badly. That's my guess, but even the worst... Yeah, they do all have vertex animation. Maybe that's why. But the shadows are so low res and most of them don't even seem to be animating, so... It's a pretty severe performance problem, that's for sure. Pretty severe. By the way, like I said before, when I got stuck, if you go on the benches, you can jump into there and you can't get out again. So, I don't think this was ever tested. In fact, I mean, if this was tested, you wouldn't see the clipping everywhere, right? Like, they would have pointed out all the UV issues and other stuff we've seen already. The torches are overly bright. They needed to drop the light values, the brightness, intensity by about... Say if they're like 40, 50, they should be about like 10, 11, maybe 7. That needs to be down anyways. There's some holes in this door here, which, okay, but I'm not sure we should be seeing into there. I don't think we can open that. No. Lots and lots. We'll go... I guess we'll go down here first. There is no sprint, just a lot of really, really laggy frames. The architecture looks all right at a distance. The light in the windows doesn't look very good. It's just a bunch of repeating textures. But the architecture is kind of interesting. It's just you would obviously need to redo pretty much all the lighting. This here looks very superimposed. It looks like someone just photoshopped it onto here, because there's like no contact shadowing of any kind whatsoever. The brickwork doesn't follow everything else at all. It's just, you know, drop down, really not much attention given to it. Textile density is all over the place on this pillar. There's an awful seam cutting right through the corner here. It looks really bad over here too. No respect for the lines in the brickwork or anything like that. So this is kind of like what you would expect out of like a Skyrim mod. It's people just slapping stuff together as fast as possible in Blender. Certainly not something that you would be paying money for, right? Like I haven't seen a single thing in here that's worth money at this point. This door is very, very low res. Very, 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 very low res. We can see a severe textile density difference just between the walls and the door. There's gaps in strange places. It's pretty bad looking. We enter here. There's great, looking good. Screen space and GPU culling issues. Precisely what I've come to expect out of Unreal Engine. The lighting in here looks a little better, a little more consistent. Don't know why our frame rate is suffering so bad. I think the emissive value on those candles is 1,000 values too high. This is definitely way too high res. We can see it's close up. It doesn't look too low res. Might be like just getting like overly blown out by all the post-processing in the other areas, which is why they look so bad. GPU occlusion culling is having a fucking field day all over the place. So far, we haven't seen too many distinct meshes yet. Like these are all the same meshes being copy-pasted around. So issues like the corners and the seams on these are being repeated all throughout the map. We can see that the collision mesh for this here is bumping me out at this point, but we can clip into the side of it. So the collision was not properly configured for that asset at all. And this here is using kind of like a square-shaped collision. So I highly doubt they have any hand-configured collision in this, or it may only be for a few specific objects. Either way, not what you would be expecting out of a $200, $100, or $25 asset. So we pop back into here. They're using the same bricks as outside. There's no different weathering on them at all. There's still textile density issues all over the place. This floor this is the best looking floor of the assets so far. There's no like tapestries or other details in here. There is some pictures that are probably all AI generated is my guess, because that's what companies do nowadays, is they AI generate everything and try to sell them. And yeah, this looks AI generated to me. Anything involving hair or the face, like that's the better looking of them so far, but most of them look really off. And anything involving hair or whatever, AI can't do. There's a lot of people on the Unreal Marketplace, of course, flooding it with AI generated art, quote unquote, but there's also 3D stuff being done. Yeah, this is AI generated is what this is. Just look at the face. Look at the eyes. Look at the hair meshing into the smoke. It's AI generated. Everything just looks really messed up. This is one of the better looking of them, but the way the hair is still screams AI generated to me. And the way that the mustache and the beard have this vertical cutoff in them, that's an AI artifact I haven't seen for a while. The frames for the pictures are higher resolution and have sharper detail to them than anything else in the entire asset so far. So that's also very typical of modern games. I thought you could open these. You can see that there's stuff in there, but I don't seem to be able to open them. So this is one of the better looking pictures, I guess. I still say that all of them are AI generated, but they might be using a mix. The fingers are, yeah, that is AI generated. That is AI generated. 100%. Anytime fingers go on, it shows its colors really fast. Eyes are usually the same way. You see how the eyes are completely different from each other? It's AI generated. They ran it through a filter or something. So these are animated objects. There's nothing in them. The animations do not use any kind of smoothing. They're using linear curves. And at least for the movement of the pots. The movement for the spoons is a lot better. So the pot movement is way too linear though. There's seams cutting through the jars on the table. The table resolution is more akin to that of the picture. They definitely really stick out. And the floor in here still has that weird kind of slimy appearance to it. There's no physics, anything enabled on anything in here. The books actually don't look too bad. But the light mapping is fucked. The candle emissive is way too high. Way too high. I mean, in general, the lighting here is just an absolute disaster, right? Like, the brooms are basically unlit. The bottom of them is just completely black. So, there's a little bit of disparity between the textile density on some of these things here. We've got some great screen space going on here. It's fucked. That's why we don't use screen space, because it's fucked. There is seams or something you see in the ceiling there. Middle of the screen, you see running across the ceiling, there's this bright spot. There's a little nub or whatever. The intersection between the things just jammed into the wall there. It's pretty lazy. And more textile density issues. Mirrored UVs cutting through here. Mirrored UVs cutting through here. You at least want to flip the textures around or do something to break that mirrored UV stuff. The textures for the lighting on here look squished or stretched too far horizontally on the double lining here. And then right above them, the flat part is very, 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 very low res. That's a common issue I see a lot with pillars, actually, is people not paying attention to what they're doing. Ooh, there's some death skulls. Very grim. The skulls don't look too bad. The thing holding the beakers looks very low res. Very blurry. I do not have any idea why my performance in here is so fucking bad. But it is. Some of the stamps, the thing there, it says pepper up potion. That's really high res. That's the resolution the rest of the terrain should be at. I don't know why these little objects here have the highest resolution out of the entire asset by far. Like this potion right in front of me, you can see fairly sharp normal detail on that doesn't exist anywhere else. Whereas there's a lot of like hard triangle edges all over the place. They're very, very, very low poly. Textile density is very obvious here. And I mean, the textures just look like they came from entirely unrelated things. It honestly wouldn't shock me to learn that all the textures were AI generated on top of it. I mean, if someone's willing to use AI generated portraits and stuff on their pictures, why not go the whole mile and just do it for everything? This is animated here, but not actually writing anything. Interesting idea, execution, not so good. Of course, the shadowing in here is completely messed up. It'd probably look a little better with Lumen. And look, this is kind of higher res too. But I don't know. Like when we look at the lines, you see how the lines look really kind of like smoky. That to me screams AI generated. Like that is not how somebody drawing on a blackboard would look. It looks really fucked up, either through a noise filter or it is literally AI generated, or it's been run through waifu 2 times a whole bunch of times. So it could be like a massively upscaled texture that's been hit with compression and softening and stuff like that. So it's a mess. Like I wouldn't pay $15 for this so far. Ooh, grim. When we look at this, it could almost pass off until you look at the face and the eye and the weird lines creeping across it. Like, this is one of the better of them, but the eyes still look really off. Shit is fucked everywhere. It is what I would consider a poor man's Hogwarts. I think you'd have a better off time just ripping stuff from Hogwarts Legacy. Look at this haloing and ghosting. Isn't screen space great? Screen space is so great. These look okay. If only the floor was of a comparable quality. But it isn't. We've got holes in the floor here. Holes in the stairs. Cutting into there, and then those walls maybe back-faced. So this would not work with Lumen as it is. You'd have a lot of issues adapting this to Lumen because of stuff like that. There's no sealed geometry, and there's holes all over the damn place. Those stairs would definitely be troublesome. Kind of all just sort of rammed together. These rails, the inner parts are deceptively high resolution, and the tops are kind of low resolution, but they don't fit with the stairs at all. Like they attempted to make the same thing, but the textile densities do not match. And these are more flush. You don't see holes in this quite as much. There is with this second set of steps here. Shit's just flickering all over the place. Because of, oof. Ugh. At first this looks low res, but it isn't. It's actually high res enough, and it really hurts my eyes. Because the red is too much. Shadowing is all over the place. Kind of to be expected. With light baking, LMAO. Can't expect too much. Textile density is at least more consistent with these. But it looks too low res to be a modern asset. These windows, again, not too bad. Very low res. Very, very low res. Got some seams and other stuff going on with the frame here and the side. Could just be the light maps again. Hard seam cutting through this wall here. Does not look very graceful. Texture was just slapped on without regard. So if they have transparent windows like this, then the light coming through them would look completely different than the other ones that are just textured to be full bright. Oof, that SSAO. Ooh, it looks bad. It looks bad. We finally have some tapestries in here. This fucking camera bob looks terrible. Nobody's head moves around like that. We look across the scene, what we see is the lighting being kind of mediocre. Better than most modern games, mind you. Most modern games don't have any shadow casting, baked or otherwise. But, yeah. Nothing here is physics enabled at all, so you've got spoons just clipping to the top of the table. There's no, like, napkins or anything like that. Harry Potter just whisks his filth away, and there's holes over here of some nature, some dubious design. And we can see back there, but don't think we can get back there. Nope. So, I mean, I like the wooden architecture. It's kind of neat. You could play around with that. You have a lot of work ahead of you to make this demo map look any good, though. That red is just so hard on my eyes because of my sensitivity. So we'll check the other place, but we haven't seen... That was the highest density of unique assets so far. Was the 2 rooms there. And since you can't move very swiftly in this at all, you don't really get to... Ooh, the bleeding through here is crazy. Why is it doing that? That shouldn't happen. I do not know why that happens. That's weird. Because of baked lighting? I mean, I see that in Lumen sometimes too, so I'm not so sure. It's just not a good look anyways. Got some mirrored shit here. I got some stretchy too. Well, GPU occlusion culling was a mistake. Yes, people should be flogged every time they even contemplate using it. I see this all the time. Anything like Genshin Impact has that shit all over the place. So, this is our last hurrah for this project. Can it redeem itself with this structure? What is in here? I mean, I definitely wouldn't buy this. I might use some parts of it if it was free. But, definitely not a... Not a $100 product. by no stretch of the imagination whatsoever. There's way too much work I would have to do to make this presentable. There is seams right through this wall here. Yeah, you can see it. It's not a very big seam, but it is. This is not flush. So we got some books that are going through the wall here. It's kind of weird. I'm loving that ghosting. Fucking screen space and everything related has been a disaster for the human race. So here's the Hogwarts library. It's kind of like a library. This is what the dorm in Hogwarts looks like. So that's kind of more what I expected. But yeah, you can turn it into a library, I suppose. You would expect to see the moving things. I guess that would be a little too on the nose. What you do see is lots of seams here because these are not flush. They're just kind of floating there, kind of rammed into the side here. It's kind of like some of the places in Arbiter I slapped together in like 30 seconds, right? Like I didn't care. I just wanted you to be able to go up. These authors didn't care. They just wanted you to buy. A little bit of a different vibe there, though. So these are all just basically assets from the rest of it. There's nothing really too distinct here. I think if you turned off SSAO, this would look a little better. The books are just clipping through everything, so you'd need to rework those particle effects to get them functional for your game. So a lot of stuff here just does not work out of the gate. Stuff's clipping through here. The books don't like come in and out of the bookshelves, which is kind of what you would expect, right? Is for there to be some effort placed into this. But they didn't put any effort into that. It was just we had an idea, quickly slap it in as fast as possible. We've got to make the deadline. We've been working on this for 2 days. We got to get it out now. Like the vibe I get out of the demo level is just quick, use AI generation, slap out as fast as possible. And there is a seam through the wall here. So that's the first one like that I've noticed. But I'm sure that, you know, sitting down with this, I would find hundreds of those everywhere. Where there's one, there's going to be more for sure. And I'm not going to go all the way to the top of this because I know it's just all copy-pasted. I think we've seen enough. This is just going to get deleted, and I'm going to move on. 42 minutes to see what basically looked like 50 assets at most. Just copy-pasted everywhere. Without rhyme or reason, all completely inconsistent with each other. Hard pass.